Welcome, everybody, to Double Chaos. That's right. Because I'm not the only one that can get chaotic. You recognize him, you know him, you love him. He's not Mr. Cravat, he's Lee Cravat. We are going to do the midterm report card.
Mid-season report card.
I'm an educator. I say term. You say season, I say term. You say potato, I say potato. What position group are we going to start with, or person?
Let's go down to defense first. Let's start with the corners.
Okay, great. Let's start with the quarterbacks. I have to say, it's interesting that you'd start that position because I'm going to sound like, a Kool-Aid drinking Jets fan.
That's why I started there.
I'm going to have to say an A. I think they're arguably the best. Let's not say duo. Let's say trio in the NFL, because people forget about Michael Carter the second, and you really, you have to talk about him and think about him when you're having this conversation, because he's the slot, the slot corner. He's an important part of the secondary. So I'm going to have to say an A. I think we have the best duo in Reed and Gardner, but we have the best trio with Michael Carter the second, Sauce Gardner, and DJ Reed.
I'm not going to disagree with you. However, I'm not going to give a lot of A's, I don't think, but I'm going to give these guys an A+. And it's the only A+ that I'm going to give, I think. And to me, it goes to Gardner and Reed. I mean, that's what I'm thinking about. I understand Carter is part of the package, but when I think A+, that's what I'm thinking about.
Okay, I love it. I didn't know we can give pluses, but I'd like to change my grade to an A+. Basically, let's pretend Sauce just walked into my office and he said, "Yo, man, why did I only get an A? I deserve an A+. Didn't you see the last play of the Buffalo Bills game?" And I'm going to look at him and say, "You're absolutely right. My bad." And I'm going to put a little plus next to the A.
Because you're a teacher. I give pluses when pluses are due, and it gives me more wiggle room. I'll give minuses also.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So what position's next?
Safety.
Okay. The safety group got off to a really tough start this year. They were a problem the first few games. I even made a video.
You did.
That called LaMarcus Joyner the worst defensive player in the NFL.
But then you gave him receipts. You gave him receipts after that.
Oh yeah, I did an apology email or message. I'm sorry, video. But it's funny. It's interesting because I didn't only the way I justified calling him the worst defensive player in the NFL is I said we have the worst defense in the NFL, and he's the worst player on the worst defense in the NFL.
I think you're going to take that back, huh?
It feels like we went from worst to first in a hurry.
In a real fast. We did.
I'm going to give the safeties, though. I think they came back and played a lot better. I still think you can't erase the mistakes of the past. Whitehead, didn't wrap some tackles that cost us the game.
Yeah.
Arguably. But I'm going to say B-.
That's the exact grade. So I don't want, I hate, it sounds like I'm copying. I was hoping you were going to go B so I could say B-. But I do want to say that I think they're playing better than B- right now. I would say maybe even as high as B+ right now, but we'll see at the end of the season. But for the first half, I'm going to say B-.
Yeah. A whole nother half season, they might be able to completely erase those first few games from our memory, but they've been playing really well.
Yeah, they have. Okay, where do you want to go next?
How about the defensive line?
Yeah.
I would have to say B+. B+.
You're going to say B+? And
I'm going to say lately they've been playing A+.
Well, this is the problem. This is the problem that we're having right now. Mm-hmm. If we look at the whole half season, then we have a lower grade than if we say, what are they doing right now? And I'm going to say that I'm going to give them an A-. And here's my thinking. It's because of the rise. They're so exceptional right now that I say A- because I'm weighing recent performance more.
Yeah, it's interesting. If I could go by the last 5 games, can't say how they're not an A defensive line, if not A+. I mean, and they are, even if you ignore the first games, and the reality is they're winning football games for us. We're winning because of the defensive line and the secondary, but the defensive line is what flipped on this team. When you say what's the biggest change from last year, it's not like the cornerback play, even though we went from good to elite, but the cornerback play really wasn't the biggest problem. It was no pressure at all from the defensive line, no containing the edge, no adjusting to screen passes or anything. So they definitely flipped it around, and that's definitely the core of why we're winning right now.
Yeah, they're balling it for sure. But I do think it's everybody. There's nowhere to turn if you're the offense. Right now, the entire defense is rock solid. So what do we have left to talk about on the defense?
I believe we have that's an interesting question. I think we covered the entire team of linebackers.
That's right. I'm waiting for you to say linebackers.
The linebackers.
That's what I was waiting for.
And that's another interesting group because it's another hot and cold group. I still think that some of the drives where we do struggle because are due to the linebackers and some things that are going on there. I think CJ Mosley had one of his best games. He seemed to really get faster. He seems to really rise against the Bills, but there were times where he's struggling in pass coverage. Like, and you know, he really is having to adjust, and credit to him for this. He, on a different system, he might shine as a bigger star, but he really is being utilized. We utilize our linebackers in pass coverage, and that's not his strength. He's a disruptor. He wants to be set free, but the other hidden story about him is we don't see. It's not in the stats or in what we're watching with our eyes, but it's the leadership with that microphone. It's the leadership in that defensive huddle. It's the guy. He's the quarterback of that defense.
Yeah,
without question. And then you have Quan Alexander and Quincy Williams, and they have some issues, but I think
Quan Alexander is hitting like a ton of bricks.
He has.
He's in on so many plays. Oh!
They hit so hard.
He's a beast.
I'm gonna say B+ for them too.
I'm torn. I'm actually gonna go down under you on this one and say B, but I do give them credit. I don't know if you agree with me on this one, but I know that it drives you crazy that opposing offenses get these 5 to 8 yard gains against us, seemingly at will. But I do think that is the defense that we're running. We're running a defense where the only way you're going to really get yards, if it goes according to plan, is those short passes. We're kind of giving them that and then hitting them super hard, hoping to knock it loose, hoping to keep them from getting more yards. And I think it's working for the most part.
I do realize and accept the fact that the reality is you have to give something up. Like there's something you have to be softer on. And we are a prevent big play defense. And that's one of the things that's been working well for us is that we've been able to prevent big plays. In recent weeks, I mean, week 1 was, I think they played really well in the first half. They gave up some big plays, and I think they adjusted and said, whoa, what happened? And we're watching them evolve. We're watching them emerge.
Yeah.
So, look, one of the things I'm so excited about with the linebacker position is it was one of the positions people were angry we didn't draft anybody. And now, not only do we have the pickup of Quan Alexander, like you alluded to, CJ Mosley is the captain, the quarterback of that unit.
Yeah.
Right. Quincy Williams makes a couple of mistakes, but man, he lights people up and makes some exciting plays. But here's what's really exciting. Even sitting on the bench, we saw him for 4 plays when Mosley got hurt.
Yeah.
This kid, Jamie Sherwood, comes in, and in the 4 plays, he made 3 big plays, 3 solo tackles, which was amazing.
So I want to give 2 more grades on defense, if that's okay.
Sure.
I want to give an A to the coach. Defensive coordinator. When you say worst to first, I mean, come on. That guy has a plan. And of course, Salah's the defensive coach, right? I got to give him an A. I want to hear what you have to say. I can't just say it's only the players.
Well, Ulbrich was on the hot seat a few weeks ago, not too long ago, where we want, Jet fans were screaming for his head.
I was not. I was given a little bit of time.
I don't know how people are going to react to the A. I think Salah got more involved. But so I won't go that far, but at the end of the day, You got a young team. You got a defense that has completely flipped this around, is playing amazing. It's the defense is the reason we're 6-3 without question. There's no argument to that. So I think, yeah, I'm going to say B plus.
Yeah, I understand that. Maybe I should say A minus. Maybe I should say A minus. But it's the Rays of the defense. I've got to say that's a coach that is teaching and bonding the team and getting them together and giving them a common mission. It feels like a coach thing when you say worst to first in 7 games, 8 games, from the beginning of the season to now.
Yeah.
And then the last grade I think we need to give is the defense. What grade do we give the defense? I know you did a show very recently about, are they the best defense in the league? Come on. But I think that's hard to say right now.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. And I alluded to that in the video.
Yeah, I know you did. I know you did. Exactly. But what grade would you give them?
I would give them an A minus. I would give them an A minus. I think the stats back it up. Because like I said, even in the games where we were frustrated, like, in that, even the first game against Baltimore, it was a few big plays, but otherwise they played really well. They were young. It was the first time they were playing together. There were 5 new faces on that defense.
Yeah,
they're gelling. So when you consider that, if you want to be fair, like just in anything, when you're giving a grade, you have to consider the circumstances. And they were a gelling team, and they have gelled and gelled and gelled to the point where there are people arguing they're the best in the NFL, whether it's true or not.
Yeah.
But it can't be argued. They seem to get better every week, and they just shut down Josh Allen, one of the best offenses in the NFL. So I have to say, I feel like they deserve a very strong grade.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree with you on the A minus. I'm going to say that I would even say right now at this moment I feel A, but I feel like that it hasn't been every game. But even in the New England game, where a lot of people might say they didn't play as well, I'm saying baloney, because the way that Zach Wilson was playing, the defense was constantly on the field. And I felt like, how can they possibly just continue to stop them and keep us in the game? But I feel like they did for a very long time.
Absolutely.
Let's go to special teams. Special teams. You want to break that up or just say special teams?
Special teams. We could just say special teams. And I think special teams is usually lumped as one.
Yeah, I'm lumping them.
I think special teams, you have to say an A. I could defend it. Like it hasn't been. There's the reason it's not an A plus is there's been some glitches in the.
There's been some glitches.
Every 5 punts, man shanks it.
Yeah, and I'm going to say
ridiculous.
And that's why I'm just saying B plus, because I've seen too many shanks and a couple of little runbacks that hurt us. So I'm going to say B plus.
Yeah, I think we're close when I say A minus and you say B plus. I think the one thing that pulls me up to the A minus
is the kicker, field goal kicker.
Is the field goal kicker. I mean,
I knew it.
We haven't
because you did a show on him.
Yeah, I did a video on him. You could check that out. And it's
like the game ball.
I gave him the game ball, and I gave him the game ball. Some people say, "Well, whoa, why does he deserve the game ball?" Like in your mind, he kicked 2 field goals and 2 extra points, but it's really just predicated on my history with the Jets in the recent 12 years. When have we had a kicker we can?
No. You're right. I listened to it and I said, Jeremy's right. We blow it on the kicks and now we don't. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
And then, obviously the minuses for the punts and for Justin Hardy's penalties, the stupid non-play penalties. He had one again. I think he's already had like 4 or 5 of them. It's inexcusable. I think personally, I'm not going to yell cut him, but I do think it's questionable that he should still be a team captain.
Going back to the defense a little bit, I should say real quick, just some of those late hits, personal fouls, to me, that's also what takes them down a notch. Like they have to clean that up consistently. I know it's mostly one player, but they do have to clean it up as a unit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think we're kind of in tune with the special teams. Very improved, very exciting. Because the one thing that in all the years of being a tragic Jet fan, we did have a coach that stayed with the organization for years and years and years, and he was very good. So the Jet fans are used to having good special teams, and it's nice to have that back again.
So let's go to the offense, my bro. Let's go to the offense.
All right. I am ready to talk offense. And boy, am I gonna this is where the trolls are gonna come out in the chat.
The trolls.
The trolls. I know actually not trolls, they're just people who don't understand that you could disagree without getting angry and be obnoxious. But there's gonna be some
They disagree.
obnoxious.
They disagree.
There's
I
gonna be
don't
some
mind people
obnoxious-
disagreeing. Yeah.
Yeah. Where are we gonna start on the offense?
Well, okay, here's a fun. We start out with a fun one on defense. Let's start out, I think, with a very fun one on offense and an interesting one. Very interesting. Wide receiver.
I'd have to say B plus.
You know, it's interesting you say B plus. I'm gonna take it down. Oh, all the way to a B minus, which is a significant drop. And I'm thinking of all the passes early on that were dropped. And even still, I'm seeing some drop passes, deflections that turn to interceptions. If I look at one guy, like I look at Garrett Wilson, I think the guy is playing A ball. I love his yards after catch and everything. But it's hard when a guy like Moore says he wants to be traded, Mims says he wants to be traded. You know, it's kind of crazy. And the positive, it feels like we have 5 real wide receivers, which is amazing. It looks like Mims has really turned it up, though. He's really saying, I'm part of this team now.
Yeah, well, I think the thing with Mims is that we forget is that it's more than just a box score. And Mims is an incredible blocker.
Yeah.
And he actually had at least 4 to 5 key blocks during the game on Sunday.
I know that we disagree on this sometimes, you and I. You know, I think Saleh has taken the position that if you're going to say I'm more important than the team, if you're going to say I want to be traded or I want what I want versus doing what the team needs me to do, Saleh has said, then you're not playing. You know, like you are going to be punished and it's going to be for a while until you really turn it around. Like it's not a 1 or 2 week or 3 week thing. It's where you have to demonstrate that you are a team player. And until you could do that, what message does he send if somebody says, hey, I'm a prima donna, I don't have to abide by those rules and I'll still get passes, then everybody is going to start to say, I'm out for me, I'm out for me, I'm out for me. But if he holds true to the principle, then people will be afraid. They'll say, I'm part of this team. And I'm going to shut up about my own personal feelings because I'm going to get benched.
Yeah, I don't know why you think I would disagree with that.
All right.
You know, we go back into each other's childhood. Accountability is Parcells. And you and me both go back to Parcells. We both got to see him when I was getting into football and we were watching football together. When he was the Giants coach, when he was the Jets coach, the one thing we agreed on that made Parcells such a great coach is he's a player's coach, but he also held people accountable. You know, the year they won the Super Bowl, it was like their number 2 wide receiver. I'm forgetting his name. If it was Butch Johnson, I'm forgetting who exactly it was, but he actually cut and threw off the team in the middle of the season, that season, and then they went on to win the Super Bowl. So it showed. It goes, the team is bigger than the player.
The team is bigger than the player, and that's why you can't just give more passes, because he still is saying weird things whenever the press gets a mic in front of his face. He's got to turn it around. He's got to really believe that the team is more important than him, and he certainly doesn't yet. But that's why I have to say, you know, take him down a notch and say B minus versus your B plus. I think some of the play has certainly been B plus, but some of it's been B minus and some of the attitudes haven't been good. The second half of the season, I'm ready to see A minus play.
Yeah, I think I could agree with that. And I understand that. And that's a reasonable thing to say. The reality is that Garrett Wilson, I mean, Corey Davis is being what we're paying him to be.
Yes, he is.
Garrett Wilson is the surprise. He's the
Yes.
surprise. He's the guy that is doing more than he's supposed to be able to do.
I hope he doesn't get hurt because he's very reckless when he runs. Once he gets the ball,
he is, but he's a tough cookie. He keeps getting up. He's taking some shots.
He fumbled one. That could have been a game ender.
Yeah, that was a little scary.
Yeah.
Also, we can't forget Berrios. You know, and what I love about
You're right.
what I love about Braxton is that he's just such a smart player. He's the smartest player on the team. Maybe he's like, he really understands what his role is, and he's so focused on doing it to perfection. And I love it. And he's just a great, sure-handed guy.
On defense and now on offense, we're saying certain names in a very positive way. You know what they all have in common?
What's that?
They are pumped. They are giving it up for the team. They are giving everything they have to win. I love this team. We have so many people that come into play.
Yeah, such committed, dedicated players.
Yeah.
They're so committed to the
Yeah.
team. It's a wonderful culture that Salah has built without
Yeah.
question.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
So the tight end play is actually, I'm going to say C.
Really?
Yeah, I
Huh.
no, the blocking has been okay. It hasn't been. There's been some great blocks, and people will point out great blocks, but there's also been missed blocks,
Yeah.
horrible missed blocks. There was a lot of in the beginning, a lot of drop passes by Conklin.
Yeah.
I don't blame Ozama for like not getting a lot of passes because he's not being used that way. He's being as a blocker. And when I say C, I'm not being negative. I'm saying that they're average. Now, last year we were an F. Like last year we had
It was
no tight
horrible.
ends.
Last year it
Right.
was ridiculous. It was so bad.
And we've had moments where Conklin's been amazing, right? I mean, he's had A moments,
Uh,
and Ozama too. So I am not when I say C, I'm not being so down on them where I'm saying our tight ends stink or anything like that. I'm saying average. Right now, I feel like we have average tight end play in the NFL, like somewhere in the middle of the league, like 16 or 17 in the league. And I think it's reasonable to say that. I don't think that anybody's going to argue that our tight end play is top 10 in the NFL.
No, I don't think it is. I feel the average is more like a B minus, though. I mean, I have a different scale in my head. When I think about our tight ends, I think about them coming up with some big plays and making some big blocks. I totally get what you mean about the mistakes they made, but I think they've also done things when we've really needed them. They've been really part of the offense. And it was so missing. Maybe that's what's in my head. They were so missing last year that now it's so refreshing. I was going to say B minus, but I think you've talked me down to a C plus. Okay.
It's not such a bad thing considering if you're one of the worst teams in the NFL with tight ends, and then you go into the middle of the pack and you're like 15, 16 in the league, that's a good step forward. We didn't overpay for them. It's great value. We didn't pay tons of money for that jump. And we have a developing tight end in Jeremy Ruckert. I don't want to overread into the fact that he's inactive every week. I just think that his strength is blocking, and we have two veteran guys that block. So they're making him inactive because they want more of a receiving option. So it's been Yeboah or Cager. Now it's Yeboah. So I'm trying not to read into it. I think Ruckert's going to be fine. I think he's a developmental player. I'm not going to jump off a cliff. He might end up being the best tight end in the team within a couple of years, but we just don't know yet because we don't get to see him.
One thing that is amazing, and we're kind of spoiled this season, and we haven't been spoiled ever before as Jets fans, maybe in 69, 70, maybe that season, but is the fact that our rookies are playing lights out football. It's incredible level of play that the rookies are giving the team. Ruckert is being treated like a normal rookie.
Yeah.
And we're just not used to it because we're used to this incredible play by our other rookies.
Yeah.
It really doesn't say anything bad about him.
Yeah, I'm I'm not too worried about it. He was hurt most of the offseason coming in, so he didn't get the opportunity to absorb and get the reps to absorb the system. I do think they used him a little bit, which was encouraging in the beginning because it shows they see the talent in him.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be fine.
Here's a tricky one for you. We're going to do running backs now, and I do think it's really tricky to give a grade to the RBs.
Well, keep in mind we're not grading what they are now. We're grading what they've been. So I have no problem doing it. I have to say A, if you go by the 8 games, and we've had Breece Hall for 6 of those 8 games, we had one of the top running backs in the NFL. We have a very good running back in Michael Carter, and I think people are starting to realize that. And we immediately picked up James Robinson, and as soon as he had over a week to settle in,
He scored.
I mean, he's been great. So I think the running back play has been absolutely, just been awesome. They make something. There's a lot of plays where they should be losing yards, where they make a yard, where they're touched behind the line of scrimmage, and they turn nothing into something. But their timing, the big plays, the Breece Hall big plays, Breece Hall's big run, won us the game. the 50-yard run against Denver. So, and then the way they play, the way James Robinson played, the way Michael Carter plays, I can't imagine a better. Now we have a running back trio, but I can't imagine what more we could have asked from our running backs than what Breece Hall and now Michael Carter and James Robinson are giving us.
Yeah, I guess if I'm looking at the total thing and I have to weight where we are now in the equation somewhere, like I'm feeling that I can't go that high. I can't go that high. I'm thinking B plus, which is a couple of notches from your A, just because we had great play from Hall, no doubt about it. But he is now out for the season, and so I can't help but looking at Robinson and Carter and thinking they're good. They're solid backs. They're good backs. They're going to keep us in some games. They played really well, I thought, against Buffalo in the last drive. Fantastic. But we also wore down the defensive line with running the whole game. Anyway, I'm kind of a B plus on them, but that's still good, very good, considering we just suffered an injury.
I agree. It's not like we're that far apart when I say A and you say B plus. I'm saying they're numbers, 5 to 6 in the league, and you're saying no, I think they're more 8 or 9 or like whatever. We're picking at straws. So now we've covered the tight ends and the wide receivers and the running backs.
Yeah,
we're getting close to the.
I think we have to say offensive line now. The OL, which to me, it is the offense. You don't know all their names. Not everybody knows who they are if you're not really into football. I mean, you know the quarterback, you know the running backs, the wide receivers, even tight ends, but the OL to me is the game.
Now, look, if I was forgetting who their names were in the situation, and we're watching numberless guys and watching the games, obviously the score would be lower, like a C. But I want to say, and maybe that's the grade if that's what we're grading, but I do want to say this because it's important to say. What these guys have done, considering the injuries,
oh my God,
is miraculous.
Oh my God, yes.
I give them an A for that, because if you took any other team in the NFL and said, we're going to take your 2 starting tackles away from you. Okay, we're going to put these 2 in. We're going to take those 2 away also. Well, we'll give you this one back. But now we're going to take this one, the guy that you moved over. You know what I mean? So if you're basically playing with your 4th, your original choice to fill in your 3rd choice, and now you're like 5th choice. And by the way, your all-pro guard is now a decent backup guard that's playing for you and holding the fort down. But the level of play, he's a backup in place of an all-pro. When you consider all of that, it's absolutely miraculous, because I've seen teams with less injuries on their offensive line completely fall apart. And these guys they're keeping us alive. And the run blocking was actually very good against Buffalo.
I'm gonna agree, but I'm gonna disagree. I mean, against Buffalo, I thought they were very, very good. Zach actually had some time to throw the ball, opened up some holes. Against New England, I thought Zach had no time. A lot of that's on Zach because he stepped back and back and back and back. But people were coming through. People were coming through right and left and center. And so I just, I could never give an A. I could give an asterisk to say they were super beat up. So they get an asterisk.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm giving them a C for the overall play for the season. I'm giving them a C and saying they're average, but I think it's miraculous that they can be average considering what they've endured.
Yeah. And I'm a high grader. On some things I'm less than you. I'm going to go C plus. And again, I'm going to say C plus because of the games where they have protected him, and because of that, they were easier victories. When we had the OL healthy enough and doing their job enough to really give our offense some time and open some holes, we won those games. They weren't the sweaty ones.
How scary is this team going to be? First of all, just when Mitchell and Fant come back.
I'm so excited.
How scary is this team going to be next year?
Yeah.
When AVT is back and they fix the problems and they work out who's going to play tackle and everything. How scary will this team be?
Well, I don't want to talk too much about that, even though I agree, because I want to talk about this year because
Yes,
this year is exciting.
we're scary now.
That's right. That's right. That's why I don't want to talk about next year right now. Next year is when this year is uninteresting, but this year is fine and interesting. So we haven't, I think the only position we have left, player position, is Zachary.
Yes. Well, we had some Flacco in the beginning, but we'll do Zach as a player.
We'll do Zach. Yeah, I think we do quarterback. Yeah, we don't have to talk much about Flacco.
This is where the trolls are going to come out, right?
I did a whole show on Zachary.
Yeah.
I'm calling him
But I'm saying-
Zachary suddenly.
but this is where the trolls are going to come, because there are people that actually want him to fail because they didn't get what they wanted in the draft, and they're determined. I mean, we got people out there. This is no exaggeration. There are people trying to take away what he did on Sunday. They're actually trying to say it wasn't him, which is amazing to me. Amazing.
Well,
Yeah, a 101 quarterback rating, and they're saying it wasn't him because he was dropping back and executing the play that was called for him.
you know, I did a video on will the real Zach Wilson please stand up? That's what I called it. And in there I said, neither one of them, New England Zachary, New England Zach, or Buffalo Zach, neither one of them is Zach right now. But and they both are. They're both him. They're kind of showing right now when the 23-year-old is the 23-year-old and he's overwhelmed. He's New England Zach, but luckily he's not there that often. He hasn't been there for a while, and much more often he's been the Buffalo Zach. Although that was his best game, in my opinion, that was his best game.
That was his best game, and then he got unfairly judged by some of these same people as in the other games where he won. Like for example, they all shut up with the Pittsburgh game because you can't argue that, right? He came back in the fourth quarter and he looked like as good as any quarterback. You know, he looked like what all pro quarterbacks do. He was unstoppable in the fourth quarter. But when you look at the Denver game and the Green Bay game, people want to criticize him. Now, you and me both said the same thing. If Joe Flacco or any other quarterback that wasn't athletic as Zach Wilson was in that game, they would have absorbed 10 sacks and we lose those
forget
games.
about it. He was so good at escaping, you know.
We won those games because of his escapability. He literally won us those games by not taking all those sacks.
But let's look at the Buffalo game. I really want to look at that because one way that you judge a defense is what they allow opposing quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. And Buffalo demolishes opposing quarterbacks on rating. So when you look at Zach's 101 rating, which is, by the way, a fine rating, that's top 10-ish quarterback rating, okay? But he didn't do it against an average team. He did it against, I don't know how anybody can argue, he did it against a top defensive team. That team they only allowed one 21-point game against them, 2 20s, and that's it. They lost the 21-20. But are you kidding me? He beat a top defense, scoring as many points against them as anybody has scored. That's a piece of art right there, my friend. But that is not Zach. That is Zach when he is so focused and so in the game plan and playing above his age. And we've seen all kinds of Zach Wilsons played this season. I guess what I'm expecting, and I said it on my little video, is I expect him to continue going up. Not every game. It's a step down, a step up, a step down, a step up, but the overall trend will be up. And forget about it in a few years. If he continues to not get injured and takes tons of reps under center in real games, including playoff games, this year, which we could talk about next time you and I get together, if he continues that, he is going to be a great quarterback. He might never be a Brady. I'm not saying that.
Right.
But he will be a general, I own this team quarterback.
It's amazing how people can't recognize that he's 23 years old, that he's only played this many games. People are already saying what he's capable of, as if they know more than Joe Douglas. Right, just some regular Jet fan who's in our comment section sitting there saying Zach will be this. Like, how does he know? Like, we don't know. What we know is that Joe Douglas, Saleh, LaFleur, they all believe in him, And we know that we've seen him excel to a level where it's like if he played the way he played against Buffalo, normally in most of his games, he's our franchise quarterback. So and he wasn't just, and it's so ridiculous for the people. I won't even address the people that are saying that it wasn't a great game against Buffalo and he was just simply a game manager. It's just a weak argument, and it's a lazy argument. It's a lazy argument because you're not watching the tape. And by the way, Patrick Mahomes was getting praise for winning the game, the Monday Night Football game, through multiple passes that were awful passes.
Awful passes.
That were just because every quarterback, no matter how great you are, throws awful passes sometimes.
Well, how did we make Josh Allen look on Sunday?
Yeah.
Top quarterback. We made his passer rating like, what is it, under 70, under 60?
Yeah, it was really bad.
Destroyed that guy. I hope we didn't hurt him. I hope we didn't take him out for the season, but with
Right.
his elbow, hope he's okay, because I
Right.
want to beat him again in Buffalo.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to make a statement that wasn't a fluke. We just own you.
All right, so Jeremy, let's go.
Well, we got coaches.
What grade? What grade are you giving Zach Wilson?
Oh, I'm going to give him a C+.
That's really interesting because I thought you might give him a higher grade, but in my mind, I was thinking C.
Yeah, I'm thinking second year quarterback playing. He's played probably 21 games, take away injuries, but now, so this is literally like 4 games into his second season. For me, it's to say C+ football, like judging it by the overall scale of quarterbacking, I think is good.
Yeah,
I think it's good.
And I'm saying C, and I will say A- on Sunday. You beat the best team, definitely one of the best 3 teams in football.
Yeah.
And you don't make a single interception. What do you take? 2 sacks, maybe?
Yeah.
2 sacks?
No, he was easily an A-.
Ran for 2 tough first downs on the ground.
Huge runs for first down.
I mean, I love what he did. And but I would give him an F, a total F against New England. And that's why he's a C.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about offensive coach LaFleur.
It's another one that people are ridiculous. So, and what's so lazy about it to me is that it's every year, no matter who the team is, they cry and whine about the offensive coordinator because during the game, that was a stupid play. He stinks. It's like a coordinator is supposed to call 50 plays that work. It's absolutely obscene to me. I think when you consider the offensive line he's working with, injury to Corey Davis, a young quarterback that he's having to develop, that obviously can only give you so much because he's learning. With all those factors, losing Breece Hall, losing AVT, what he's dealing with, I don't know what people are talking about. I'm really happy. He's young. He's going to get better. So he's going to be a better offensive coordinator and get a better grade in the future. But right now, he's already a B to me. And I think a B is a really good grade for a second-year young offensive coordinator.
I'm going to agree with the B, and I'm going to give it an asterisk. And it's for many of the reasons you said. Look what he's dealing with. And he's dealing with all these rookies. And he is giving the Jets, and I hope Jet fans appreciate this, he's giving them the offense. He understands it inside and out, and he is teaching it to these kids. The next man up philosophy. We've never had it. And now we have it. If everybody knows their place in the system, you can survive these kind of injuries. I'm so excited about the potential. I'm giving the asterisk because I think this B is a journey toward A. I really do.
Yeah, I do. I think he's going to end up being a great offensive coordinator. I think one day all the people that are insulting him are going to feel stupid when we're crying because someone's going to swipe him away to be a head coach.
One thing we haven't mentioned, and we should have mentioned it with Zach, and we should have mentioned it with the defense and the defensive coach and the offensive coach. And I know we're going to mention it when we talk about Salah, but I'm going to mention it now. And that is that under Zachary, under Zach, he's my buddy. I'm his dad.
Zachary, I told you not to run backwards, Zachary.
Get those feet moving. Get your feet under you before you pass, Zachary.
Stop having sex with your mother's friends, Zachary.
Zachary, good job having sex with your mother's friends, Zachary.
Make sure you use a condom, Zachary.
Be good. Be careful. Listen. So we have to say 5-1. We have to say 5-1 while Zach's been in there.
We're 5-1 with Zach in there. You look like Phil from Everyone Feeds Phil.
The one loss is kind of on him. And I know everybody's to blame, blah, blah, blah. But he threw 3 interceptions. 2 were super bonehead interceptions. I mean, it falls a lot on him. If he would have done just a little better, we could have taken that game maybe. So that one is, but come on. How do you not give the quarterback some credit, some real credit for a 5-1 start?
Crazy. I don't know.
Let's talk about Salah, baby.
Let's talk about Salah. I have been a believer in him, and I had moments of doubting him.
You did.
I definitely had my moments, but I would say 95% of the time since he has taken over this team, I have been one of his strongest supporters. And I already inspired by him. You have taken some of his words into my own life about writing your own story. I love that.
He also has
letting other people write your story. I love that.
He constantly says there's people that have to see it. It has to happen for them to believe it. And there's people that can imagine it could happen and then strive for it. And if you can't imagine it could happen and have faith that it could happen, then how can you strive for it?
Right.
You can't see it and see the possibilities. So that really excites me. But I don't think I ever gave up on Salah at all. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I was always
I've never heard you give up on him.
No. Calm down. The guy.
But for me, 95% is incredible.
It is.
You know me.
I know you, and that's very strong.
Yeah.
and so what he's done, someone gets some credit for being a 6-3 team when you won 4 games all last season and you have a bunch of rookies out there. Someone gets some credit here. And my belief always is you have to live and die by the coach, man.
Always, man. Coach and quarterback, right? So coach is so important. We talked about that for years, how important the coach is and what a difference a coach makes, right? Parcells takes over the Jets after Kotite, brought them to just misery and, being the worst team. And right away, Parcells flips the team around and we're a winning team. It's, it's coach. Coach.
I'm going to say 4-13 to 6-3 is an A, baby. It's an A.
I think is an A coach. I think a lot of people might disagree with us, and I don't care because we'll be proven right over the years because this guy is going to be, and not many are. Most coaches last 1 or 2 years in the league and they're gone. Some get another chance, and most of those that get the other chance are gone. So he is going to be one of those guys that has 20 plus years of coaching in the NFL. I think he might be. I hope it's all with us. I hope we finally have a coach that's going to have a 20-year reign as a New York Jets coach, because what that will mean for us is Super Bowl rings and glory and great franchise.
Jeremy, here we go. I had a great time talking to you about this and rating the Jets. And next time we talk, we're going to talk about the playoffs and what we're going to do in the playoffs.
I love it. And it was so much fun. I didn't even finish my sandwich.
If you like this video, please hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit my brother's bald head that's right over here. And if you want to see a video like when I talk about the Jets beating Buffalo before they even did it, or about Zach Wilson and whether he's who he really is, then hit whatever video we happen to put over here. And regardless, let's go Jets.